Those men are the reason why I'm sitting here today. There is no Ray Lewis without Muhammad Ali or Jim Brown. Period.
The impact that we can have on society is tremendous.
And imprisoned blacks, and even dousing the fury within his race that has raged wild in the gangland of L.A. Face to face with inner city kids, he isn't the great Cleveland running back or the Hollywood tough guy, but just a man who can still command an audience.
What that brother still got in his mind? Slob-ass snicker? You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Jim.
I know you can.
Hey,
I know that, man. I know that. This is a young brother, right?
You want to see me, homie? What's up? You want to go down there, man? You want to see me?
What happened? But the point is that I'm trying to make a change in my life. So for the love of the American program, I'm willing to put my flag aside to try to deal with you on a man-to-man level and squash this bullshit.
Man, dude say some shit that happened 2 years ago. What about when y'all shot my motherfucking homeboy 18 times?
Man, that was on him. He
Man, I say that shit to Keelan Dow all the time. How you gonna stand over?
I don't give a
Yeah, all right. That's the problem. You don't give a
So can y'all sit down and come close and talk about this shit?
We teach the opposite. We don't want people to have role models. We want them to take responsibility for their own self-determination, take responsibility for your own actions, set your own goals and achieve your own goals at your own time. You know, we don't want to be Magic Johnson or Michael Jordan. Those are great physical human beings, but when it comes to academics, you know, they might not measure up. When it comes to fighting for freedom, equality, and justice, they might not measure up. But when it comes to being approved by the general populace, they are considered superstars. So you must find your own way and empower your own self and keep your own self-esteem up.
Well, you know, every great athlete that I've had the opportunity to talk with, two things that you've just talked about. One is you play for yourself and you don't have to check with the fans or the score. And secondly, you don't want to have role models. But I think that you could be a good role model. I think you're a role model in a position that you're in now, and a good role model for the young people.
You didn't hear what I said.
I heard what you said.
Well, I heard what you said.
Go ahead.
You think,
Yeah.
you see, no,
Yeah.
there's no role. I'm no role model for no young people. Not with what America teaches. You know, America teaches you to be good.
Well, we look now over Los Angeles. This is where you work now. We were talking about it earlier. Tell us about what you're doing right now.
Well, first of all, this is my home, which I've been here since 1967. Love it to death. I guess the people can see the view out there, and it's quiet, and sometimes I have major parties and political parties. But I'm president of the American program, which is a program that deals with life management skills, those skills that it takes an individual to function on a day-to-day level. It deals with self-esteem. It's scientifically researched over the last 30 years, and it's not like Jim Brown going around preaching and talking about things I don't know about. It is highly technical yet simple, and it gets tremendous results because it changes the thinking of individuals, because it accepts the facts that all human beings have the same needs.
Where are you using your program? I know you're using it with the youth gangs in the city of Los Angeles. Where else has it gone to?
Well, we're in the prisons in the state of California. We're in about 3 or 4 areas in Las Vegas. In fact, we're even going to train the police there. And eventually, I hope to penetrate the high schools, the gangs, and the prisons. I think we can have a tremendous impact if we can really concentrate in those 3 areas, because they all interrelate.
I think we have the same problems in Canada in the prison systems. I mean, the fact that people who go to prison get out and come back to prison. We're beginning to get into the problem with gangs in the cities. How do these develop? What's your advice on how to stop them from going any further?
Well, first of all, you must understand that conditions that people come up under create gangs. I can't talk about Canada, but in America, the rich got richer at the expense of the poor, and the gap widened. We started dealing with the short-term gain. We didn't produce quality goods any longer. We became consumers rather than producers, and that reached right down to the bottom. The primary needs of people not being fulfilled. And if your primary needs are not fulfilled, you can't deal with your secondary needs or your social needs. So the prisons represent the fulfilling of primary needs, because you can go to prison and eat, have a place to sleep, have shelter and clothing, and even a negative social need, because you can be a homie, and you can have your homies around you, and you can be a blood and a Crip, and that can make you feel good in a very negative manner. So I would say that the number one reason would be the conditions and the fact that people want to get rich, and there's no opportunity to bridge the gap for the poor. So you create a subculture, an extension from the family concept, and you have people dealing with drugs. So you have a General Motors of drugs. You know, it creates an economy. It's negative, but it allows them to function and to feed themselves, feed their children. And in some cases, a lot of them become millionaires and very powerful in a negative way.
Canada is slightly different than the United States. The United States talks about a melting pot, whether that's true or not. In Canada, we talk more about a salad. Everybody comes and they remain, you know, their uniqueness remains. What can we do to make sure we don't go the way of Los Angeles or New York in the massive juvenile problems?
Well, I perceive Canada as quite different than the United States, and I don't want to be insulting to either country, but I think we're an aggressive type of country. We like to be the leader, you know, of the world, and we develop aggressive people. But I think the commonality would be drugs. Drugs have no bounds, no boundaries. Drugs create a euphoria for people who are insecure. It also creates an economic base for a lot of people who basically cannot make it any other way. And there's a tremendous amount of money in drugs. So I think in Canada, when you talk about drugs, it's no different than the United States because it's a major business. It's a major corporation now. And that would be the thing that I would think I would concentrate if I was in Canada. And also, you have to be concerned with the conditions of the less fortunate. And it has to be a more realistic concern. And you must go into those communities and listen to the people. The PhDs are outdated. These behaviorist scientists do not have the answer.
20 years from now, if you're not here and I'm not here, what would you like people to say about Jim Brown?
Well,
Those guys out there, those kids out there.
Well, first thing they'd have to do is look at themselves, because I would want them to look at themselves. And if they feel qualified, because they're so good, to pass judgment on me, then whatever they say would be all right.
Jim Brown is as famous as he is in...
Martin was just probably the #1 leader. And his philosophy was passive resistance. And I am totally against passive resistance or nonviolence. Nonviolence is something that's applicable to all human beings. You know, all of us should not be violent. But that's not a movement. A movement is proactive. And so I admired his courage and his sincerity, but I didn't think that nonviolence was a solution to the problem of inequality in America. I thought that nonviolence meant that you'd march and sing, and you would try to appeal to the consciousness of the same people that were discriminating against you. So my concept was, how can you get to the consciousness of a person that has no consciousness and who is relegating you to a second-class citizenship because of your color? So I thought economic development and a sense of cultural power would be a better way to fight, because capitalism in America was riding high, and you need resources. And as I looked at the Jewish community, they applied it fantastically. And as I looked around at the community, the Korean communities, they seemed to be applying it. And it seemed that people that took care of themselves and dealt with economic development and had high family values and didn't try to integrate would do a better job of integrating. But integration can't be your goal. And I give an example. If I want to live in a white neighborhood, and they jacked the prices up. But I want to integrate it. For the sake of integrating it, I pay twice as much for the house. That's like paying twice as much to live with white folks. I never thought that was very valuable, just living with white folks. I thought, to have my rights under the Constitution. And I would always say to Martin's people, you know, I'm of African descent, I'm an American citizen, I pay my damn taxes, and I want my rights. Underline that, and you can't challenge it. Okay? I'm a citizen, you're a citizen, you pay your taxes, I pay my taxes, you get your rights, I get